Hi, it's John Sherlock from Smart DCC, the smart energy company that supports the whole smart metering launch across the UK. I am one of the senior contract managers within DCC, within our contract and supplier management function. Historically within DCC, our biggest daily challenges was we came from a time where everything was within spreadsheets, everything was within manual documents, PDFs, Word files. And what we are trying to do for the team is look to automate and transform the ways that we work, to reduce the manual amount of effort physically updating multiple spreadsheets with the same touch points and having to look through 30-40 documents, about 1,000 pages at a time for a single contract to answer either an internal question around does this contract include this clause or obligation within it, and what we're looking to do is to allow the wider business to also self-serve themselves and to use an interface such as Brooklyn to ask the contract direct questions, but also to free up the time that our team are using doing repetitive tasks that are more administrative tasks to allow them to work on the things that provide more value and better outputs. I understood that a general contract of 1,000 pages should have between 3,000 and 4,000 obligations. Unfortunately, the level of the obligations that we were having being returned to us from our supply base was in the hundreds. And so, not saying that the suppliers had missed something, but we wanted that extra level of scrutiny and assessment, which was having to be done manually by our contract managers, going through the contracts, redlining them, pulling it out, copy and paste, adding it to a spreadsheet, all incredibly manual. And every time we did a change control, every time we conformed the contract, that all had to be re-reviewed. So it was continual repeated effort that they were having to do. It was pre-March 25 when we started to engage in terms of looking at our scope and our requirements and how we wanted to digitalise and transform our obligation management process. So we signed the contract with yourself in March 2025. Your team came into our offices at the Tower of London for the first workshop literally the next week, and we started to go through the kind of low-level design of how we perceived obligation management needed to be transformed into your tool. It's been a highly collaborative process. You haven't just taken your off-the-shelf solution and said and merged our data in. We've been able to say to yourselves, this is how we need this to work, we need to adapt the logic here. It would be great if the tool could have this capability, and your entire team have been incredibly responsive. And that's now got us into the position where we now are extrapolating over 110,000 obligations, and a team of 45 people are constantly in the platform every day, reviewing obligations, chatting with the contract. We went then live on the 1st of December, and in the last 3 months, our teams have been actively managing those contracts and those obligations in there without any incidents, any challenges. Your licensing model is so open and flexible compared to other platforms out there where you don't just buy one entity of a capability, you buy the platform and you buy the license capability within the platform. But you give us and other customers a complete package of capability within the single tool. And that's unique. We signed the contract with yourselves March last year. We went live December this year. And between now and then, we've extrapolated 110,000 obligations through the tool across 220 contracts. That is growing each and every day. But now it allows the team to go into that contract, see all the defined terms. Then they can start to use the real benefits of the tool, where they can start to talk with the contract. When we're going through our licensed audits every year and we having to collate the data together on what level of obligations we've got against the near 50 critical fully managed contracts and the remaining partially managed contracts that we run across the business, was putting together multiple spreadsheets that were in different format into a centralised view. Whereby today, if I want a single view of how many obligations I've got across all of my contracts, which is over 220, I just go into the tool. I've got multiple different options. I can go into your obligations interface and view all of them there, ask it questions directly about them. If I need to share that externally to a regulator, I can download all of those 110,000 obligations within a click of a button, and I've got them in 12 Excel files that I can send out to a supply it instantly. And it's all in the same format, it's all in the same structure, rather than potentially different structures or us having to align the different structures together, which makes it a much faster exercise, but also the data's cleaner. And then when we're sharing it outwards, it looks more professional. Every one of them is impressed. Every one of them wants access to it immediately because they're like, we've got our own internal use case for this. We could answer this question in 20 minutes rather than a day of going through manual contracts or opening up PDFs. So we all know the old ways of doing it was Control F and everything within a document. We don't have to do that no more. The more they go in and use the platform, the more positive feedback we're getting from people about how simple it is, how they've just got one button and they can click on a contract, analyse it, ask it a question, similar to how they would talk to a human, not in contractual language. And the AI responses will come back and give it a human response on, look at these schedules, but also its assessment of what it thinks they were trying to ask and what they were looking for. We all know AI is evolving, gives them the basis of something to go and look at, rather than starting from scratch. And that feedback and that recognition is just growing constantly in the organisation. If I had to describe Brooklyn Solutions in just 3 words, collaborative. There's not a thing that you guys haven't took a challenge to, then it would be flexible. And then it comes to recognition. You're continuously evolving your platform and building it out to become stronger. And we're seeing that through releases that you're doing on a weekly basis, but also through working with Nick and seeing the stuff that you've got in your labs, where you're like, we've took this idea and now we've got a plan to do this and to do that with it, and it's going to be coming out next financial year. And it's like little kids at Christmas waiting for that capability to come online, because we can see how that's going to further evolve and bring more automation and allow our contract teams and our wider functional teams to gain more out of what's already in Brooklyn. Seeing that, it gives us more and more confidence that we definitely chose the right partnership and the right company to utilise before I even think about the already results in terms of how it's transformed our manual tasks into an automated and structured approach.